Okay, we're going to start with the nation. Let's end zoning suspense. Let's end zoning suspense, Oladele tells APC leaders. El Rufai, simultaneous bombing of forests can end banditry. Insecurity, INEC officials to reject posting in 4 states. ASU strike negotiation panel report ready. And 22 billion naira tramadol imported by Kyari's ally seized. Reintegration of repentant terrorists necessary for peace, says Guterres. All right, which story are we starting with?
Okay, let me start with NDLEA. So I know that many of us had seen the case where they were talking about a chief, Afa Malison Emmanuel Ukatu, who is the CEO of Malison Group of Companies. And there's this case that NDLEA had been working on, and they found that there's a relationship between Abba Kyari and this man, and it has to do with the importation of tramadol to the tune of about 22 billion naira. So he brought in that sort of large consignment in October of 2021. Right. NDLEA was saying that this particular report that I'm talking about now was like a response to people who were saying there's no evidence, you know, to attach this man to what NDLEA was is accusing him of. And they said that there's been months and months of surveillance. They have lots of evidence to show that he imported this drugs, that yes, he owns pharmaceutical companies, he owns plastic companies, but he's used them as a cover to bring in tramadol of different, they said, dosages, high dosages that are not acceptable within Nigeria and have made them illicit drugs in Nigeria. And so they say, yes, he'll have his day in court, but they do have evidences to show that he has done this.
So the committee set up by the federal government to renegotiate the 2009 agreements with the academic staff union, that's ASU, and other university-based unions have submitted their interim report to the Ministry of Education. According to the Minister, Chris Ngige, who said this yesterday, also said that the Education Ministry has commenced to work on the report. However, after a few hours, the National Association of Academic Technologists, NAT, said that their ongoing strike has been extended, is now indefinite, that they have decided to adopt the no pay, no work stance in response to the government's no work, no pay. And ASU, on the other hand, is saying that the report will be of no value to the university teachers if it's not explicitly stating that the agreement of May 2021 will be adhered to. If it's something else that's written in the report, that means that the federal government is not ready to end the strike.
There's a lot of internal bickering going on in APC because quite a number of people are unclear about the position of the parties. So the governor of Ogun State, Governor Oladele, has said that the party executive, the same way you demonstrated that the cost of the nomination forms is 100 billion naira, come out categorically to tell us what the zoning decision of the party. According to him, he says that this same executive that fixed the fee for the purchase of the nomination forms should also stop to limit the propensity for disagreement, should come out to specifically tell us on how they're going to zone. So we must not keep our party men and women guessing on the position of the leadership of the party. This is the time to weigh in and take control of the process. No system must suggest in any way, remotely, that you are not predisposed to ensuring that power shifts to the south. That is the right thing to do, according to him. And I'm thinking it's great that we're all fighting for the south, but south is wide. There's east, west, and south. Let's be more specific. Where are we? Where's APC going?
Specific.
Yeah, but hopefully, let me link that to. No, let me not link it. Go ahead.
Let me take another election-related story because the INEC officials are crying out concerning the insecurity that they are not going to visit. They're not going to go to. They won't be posted. If they are posted, they will not show up. That there are 14 states where there has been threat and attack on INEC facilities, and that they will not go and allow themselves be slaughtered in those 14 states. And they cut across the nation, from Borno to Niger, Imo, Anambra, and Enugu states. And they said, except there is immediate improvement in security within these areas, they will not show up. One woman mentioned that she saw a colleague Anthony Nwokere and the adoption of others, they were slaughtered. This happened in
Imo State?
Imo State. And she said she wouldn't allow that happen to herself. Many of the junior officials are saying they're not going to go. The commission is saying they don't want scaremongering and that they are going to deal with, they want to reduce fear. But I think the best way to reduce fear is to provide enough security apparatus, because we do not want any official to die in the process. So before we decide on zoning or talk about electioneering, can we ensure that we actually have an election?
Yeah. Moving on quickly now to the Punch. Dumping rotational presidency will cause crisis, says Akeredolu. United Secretary General is in Nigeria to meet Buhari Guterres. Ogun police torture motorcyclists to death. Family demands justice. How Lagos building collapsed on praying grandma businessman searching for apartment. Ex-military men plan protest over pension board exclusion. Abba Kyari, drug baron, imported 22 billion naira tramadol, says NDLEA. FG keeps trained hostages' families in the dark. Victims spent 36 days in terrorist den. Activists threatened to sue Buhari over NIS bus tenure extension. And MK Abiola's son asked Buhari to probe father's death. Okay, Mariam.
Just very short. Very.
Okay, go ahead.
The Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, visiting Nigeria for the first time, visited Borno State. And he went like that, like going into the eye of where the crisis is going on. And in his visit, he mentioned the fact that we must have a plan to reintegrate repentant terrorists into the country, because if we don't, we might leave them disgruntled and open to being recidivism, going back to being at terrorists. So we must integrate that. He's also going to have meet with the president and the vice president in Abuja today. So we look forward to what the meeting would bring.
Okay, so ex-military men who fought during the Nigerian-Biafra war on the side of the Nigerian government have all come together in Ibadan. They are protesting what they call the lack of not being included in the military pensions board. So they came together under the name called First Intake Able Voluntary Retired or Discharged. So they're saying that it's been 44 years since they had retired or have left, the army, or they were discharged. Until today, they're still fighting for their pensions. And they're asking the federal government, please do something before we die of hunger. A lot of us have gone that way. Many of them said, after all that, these are war veterans. They have given, many of them made the sacrifice with their lives, and they're saying that we have nothing. Someone says, I don't have a roof over my head, because we're constantly talking about pensions. They said that they've done so many biometric screenings, and it avails to nothing. So they're asking government, please do something about us. And it's so unfair that we have people, who have sacrificed and given their lives up for our country in this way, and then we have them 44 years later still seeking for their pensions to be paid them. Not fair.
Painful. Yeah, so we talked about the building collapse that happened in Ebutemeta. That was on Sunday, and the update is that it claimed 10 lives, the tenants who were in that building, and they said about 24 persons were rescued from the rubble. They had varying degrees of injuries. They've been taken to the general hospital for further treatment. Then some of the eyewitnesses and neighbors were saying that one particular woman said her mother-in-law was amongst the people that died. She was observing her prayer when that accident happened. Another person who said, who was a friend to one of the persons, Mr. Samuel, that died, a businessman, he said this man has been looking for an apartment to move. He already knew he was going to move. And the last place he saw in Ibadan, he came back and he was lamenting that it's very expensive. He may not be able to afford it, that he should look for another place for him. And he heard this news, and he just knew that this man was among them. And actually, the man died amongst them. And some of the neighbors were also complaining that they knew that they were supposed to move, but houses were very expensive. Most of them could not afford it, so they were still looking for alternatives when this happened.
In the papers, I read some of the people. They said there was a lady who had run out of the building and then ran back in to get her phone. She passed as well. And there was someone a couple, they had gotten a house. They were just doing like the final tiling. That's what they were waiting for when this happened to them. Really sad.
Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue with the review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're moving on now to... We're still on Punch. You want to take a story?
Yes. A human rights activist, Inembe Effiong, has said that he's threatening to sue the president to court. Reason being that the president has decided to extend the tenure of the somebody that should have retired on the 24th of April 2020, the Controller General of Immigration Services, Nigerian Immigration Services. Now, according to him, they had already done assessments, tests, approval of a group of people qualified to take up that position. A letter containing their names was forwarded to the president, but our president chose to tell that, he said, according to the paper, it was reported that somebody prevailed on the president to give a one-year extension to someone who is already 60 and should naturally retire on the 24th of April. And the senior officials that have passed the assessment are now going to wait, and they might never get to that position simply because of this. Now, this is not something the president did for the first time. He's done it before.
It doesn't work.
And according to this report, it is wasting and reducing the integrity of the process, where you work for many years and you know it is be your turn at a point in time, and then we're just changing the rule of law, and it's going to cause precedents for the future. So I'll be looking forward to a case going to court concerning this, so that we have something legally binding.
Okay. Moving on quickly now to Daily Sun. 2023, South should produce, President says Akeredolu. El Rufai indicts security agencies for worsening security in Kaduna. Oshibajo Tinubu and Mosu Fayemi others to Southwest Unity Conference. PDP's presidential primary under threat. Imo explosion, how angry gods killed our people, says Monarch. Poverty, World Bank mocks Nigeria. North should keep presidency if South won't have it, says Adeyanju. You know, before we even start any stories, I noticed that every single paper has this plot to jettison zone. It seems as if there's a serious issue.
Yes.
Even within APC. And remember yesterday we had our guest, who is the Director General for Yahaya Bello, and she was saying with confidence that her candidate is going to get the ticket.
Yeah.
Now, so if there's an internal bickering going on of them jettisoning zoning to the south, which was agreed initially, there was a gentleman's agreement.
To south where?
It's looking like like they actually want to keep it in the northern. Yeah. That's why everybody's now talking about it. Because I was really wondering why everybody's mentioning this matter.
Human rights activist and convener of Concerned Nigerians, Deji Adeyanju, has said that if the presidency will not be zoned to the southeast, the north should retain it. He said that the call for zoning is getting very loud among political stakeholders, and the west must not be considered in this zoning. That everything should move to the southeast, so they need to be specific about the part of the south that this zoning should be moved to, and all the conversations must be pointing to the southeast. If not, the north should just keep it. That there's a lot of pressure from political stakeholders in the two political parties, and everybody is saying that since 1999 that we had democracy, so far the southeast, we have never had a southeast president. And so if any conversation is outside moving it to the southeast, going to any other part of the south, there's no point. I think it was
even Dr. Oji Uzokalo, the chief reporter, was saying something similar, saying that, listen, if he's even shocked that the people from Southwest are even also vying for this or that because of that, you know what, let's just keep it in the north. Since you cannot even agree in the south, let's let the northerns just keep it.
I'm feeling somehow because, like, I know that the Southwest have had 8 years.
Yes.
And I know that everybody has the right to say they want to compete. So I don't even know what to say on the matter. Because I'm just thinking it's fair. Please, let me take the story of what's happening in the North. Kaduna State Governor was receiving the Emir of Zazzau. So Malam Hamed Balali paid him a traditional Hawan Bariki visit in Zaria yesterday, and the conversation went into the insecurity challenges that the North has been facing, and the governor El Rufai took time to remind everybody of history and how when he came into power May 29, 2015, he had his agenda that he was the first governor to call a Security Council meeting with other to think on what to do. He did that the next day, and the suggestion that he came up with was to form a consortium of different states, neighboring states within Northwest and Niger states to bomb out Kamuku, Kuyambana forest, and they were successfully able to do that. But he accused, he sort of like pointed finger that the security officials didn't sustain the tempo, and that if we sustain the tempo of bombing this forest, because there are particular areas where there's a concentration of the terrorists, we will be able to fish them out.
Yes, the Sun. So, funny headline, though. It says World Bank mocks Nigeria. So I would not say exactly mocking Nigeria, but the report is just trying to say that there are some of our policies that we need to really look into if we're really serious about fighting poverty. So this world report is titled A Better Future for All Nigerians, Nigeria Poverty Assessment 2022. And it just gives us a breakdown, really, of all that we're constantly talking about. But, you know, they put it one after the other. So maybe someone would hear this and, you know, would think. So they say 4 out of 10 Nigerians live below the poverty line. Many Nigerians, especially those in the north, lack education, access to basic infrastructure, water, electricity, sanitation, jobs. This is what broke my heart, that jobs do not translate Nigerians' hard work into an exit from poverty. Yeah. That only 70% of Nigerians who work can say that their work can move them from poverty, you know, out of poverty. But many others are just doing really small, informal jobs, really small scale, and it would not make much difference in their lives. And so they're saying that some of the policies that we have, especially expensive policies like our fuel subsidy, we need to really look into it if we want to, you know, improve on our human capital development and things like that. And they say many families are taking what they call dangerous coping mechanisms. So some of the coping mechanisms now, you find people scaling down on education, their children are not going to school, they're not eating, they're skipping meals, they're not eating, and this will have long-term effect on us as a country. So they're saying, let's think about it.
All right, so observing the fact that there are quite a number of contestants coming in from the from the presidency in 2023 from the Southwest, elder statesmen Chief Bisi Akande and Chief Segun Shoba have called for a meeting on Friday of all the presidential aspirants coming in from the Southwest. So that includes former Governor of Lagos State Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Vice President Professor Yomi Osinbajo, Fayemi is declaring. We hear that Governor Fayemi of Ogun State is declaring today. Governor Amosu, amongst others who are running from the Southwest. They call for a meeting where they can sit down and have a meeting, hopefully to have a consensus or agree. I say, who is? I'm just now paraphrasing. Maybe they'll say, who is stepping down for who? Let us have one person so that we can have a formidable team coming from the Southwest. We'll see how that goes.
Fight ourselves.
Moving on quickly now to the Nigerian Tribune. Plot to jettison zoning. Akeredolu, Dumeko, Koribamide, Oladele. They are one in APC. This thought I'm hearing about you. Anyways, let's find another story. Students protest over prolonged ASU strike. Family accuses police of torturing Ogun students in Ogun State. 50 passengers rescued after fire got aircraft tires at Port Harcourt.
Scary stuff.
Murder of 2 soldiers by IPOB ESN is callous. APC Southwest leaders to meet Tinubu and others this week. Next decision on zoning can go either way, says PDP. And Fayemi Akpabio joined presidential race today. Okay, I had the story of this young boy that was killed. What happened, according to the story that I had read, was the fact that a 39-year-old commercial motorcyclist was being tortured to death. So what happened was that I think the customs officers were chasing a smuggler. And while they were chasing him, they hit a motorcyclist.
They ran him over.
And he died.
Oh, my
God. When he died, the community obviously now went after the not the smugglers, the customs officers. They now went to the hotel. Yes, they had a riot. There was a big back and forth. But then they couldn't take any of the customs people. So then I went to the hotel that they usually go to, where the customs usually lodge at. They went there and they now rounded up some guys, arrested them.
About 23 of them?
Yes. So when they arrested them, some of them were actually let go. But this one guy was not. Oladele was locked up, obviously, and tortured. And unfortunately, they said he died. But the police said, because the station said that he died after he was sick. But those who were released with him said, he was tortured to death. So they're asking for justice, asking that the families are asking that the police should please investigate to know exactly what happened, what caused the death of this young man. You know that story?
Yeah, ASU. So poor kids, our children are protesting. They said security operatives yesterday at the University of Ibadan were stationed strategically everywhere so that they would forestall any break in law and order because the students are out protesting their long stay, the long strike, and they're also threatening that if nothing is done concerning this strike, they would disrupt activities at all federal government establishments, and they're saying they were holding placards which they were saying no resumption of academic activity, no 2023 elections, no commercialization of education, and that they align with the ASU's demands. So, I mean...
They shouldn't destroy any property.
I know, they should not do that.
Yeah.
But they will now have the children on the streets protesting.
You don't even need them to protest.
We have to run. Is there any important story we missed out?
Their voices need to be heard somehow.
All right, Kano saying that they denounced the pastor.
There's a virus video sometime that a pastor was promising people heaven if you pay 310,000 naira. So the Christian Association of Nigeria has disowned him, said he's not a part of them. They tried to, I think he did that in Kaduna, so they tried to find his church, his registration. They didn't see anything. Nobody could get a hold of this particular pastor.
That is all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, we'll bring in our first guest of today. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.